Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I will call this regular school board meeting for Independent School District 544 to order. And the first item of business is to establish a quorum, and I will continue with Matt as the acting clerk. Continuation from last meeting.
Kirby Anderson.
Here.
Natalie Knudsen.
Here.
Melanie Cole.
Present?
Matthew Lemke here. Stephen Biggessa. Here. And Missy Hermes is absent. We do have a quorum.
All right. You need a pen, Steve?
I do need a pen.
They should work. Did you find anything in there?
Sure.
You want me to read
Here, well, I got an extra.
it? Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt the whole meeting.
That's fine. Next item of business then is to seek a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved, and we will have a resolution for acknowledgements and thank Anita and Kevin Bone for their donation of a clarinet. Thank you to Mike Harlow for his donation of a flute to the Kennedy Secondary Music Department. Also, thank you to Emily McCune for the donation to the Otter Angel account, an account which is created anonymously to assist families who are unable to pay for student meals. I will offer that resolution and move for its adoption. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the items? All right, clerk, please.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Stephen Biggessa.
Yes.
Matthew Lemke, yes. The resolution passes.
Thank you. We have reports from superintendents this evening, or from the principals and the superintendent this evening, and we'll begin with Scott Colbeck, elementary principal for Adams and McKinley. Good evening.
Good evening. So today was our 15th day of school, and at McKinley and Adams, it's just been a great start to the school year. I can't remember a school year where the weather has cooperated as nicely as it has. I think this is just the nicest September on record that I can think of. I believe we've been outside every day for anything we needed to be outside for. So just super. And it's, you know, after the last, I would say, 2 1/3 years, it also had a lighter feel to it without having any discussions about things really not related to education, so that was really nice. I'd like to thank our kindergarten teachers at Otter Pride Night a couple weeks ago. They had a booth in the Gold Gym, and they were giving away books. I believe they gave away 170 books and then ran out. Probably could have given away many more. So after their first week of school, they spent their Friday evening here in the Gold Gym interacting with lots of people. So that was very, very nice of them. Speaking of kindergarten teachers, along with a couple first grade teachers at McKinley are right now participating in a book fair. So McKinley School has a book fair tonight from 4 to 6, and it's outdoors at Mud Pie Park. We've never had a book fair outside, and again, a beautiful evening to do that. Map testing. I talk about map testing a lot. It started today. We map test in the fall, winter, and spring. It takes about a week. And, you know, we used to bring our kids into the computer lab, and we could only test one class at a time. Now we don't bring them into the lab. We just test them on their own devices in their classroom at the most opportune time. So the classroom teacher can test anytime they'd like. Speaking of labs, it's just kind of interesting. Obviously, when these buildings were built, my 2 buildings were built in 1939. But some years later, not that long ago, we added computer labs to those buildings. And now the computer labs have gone away because we have a newer technology, Chromebooks, and every classroom has a Chromebook cart. So it's really a computer lab on wheels, and you just open up the cart in each classroom and take out the devices and you're ready to go. So that's where our students who are doing their map testing today. A thank you to our technology department who helps us and supports us in that endeavor and in those efforts. Don't know if I mentioned this, maybe I did. The map testing measures reading and math, so it gives us a good way to measure academic growth in those two subject areas. We have a new math curriculum that our teachers are really doing a nice job implementing here through the first 3 weeks of school. It's called Bridges. Part of Bridges is a 20-minute session called Number Corner. The new math curriculum requires 80 minutes of instruction a day. 20 of those 80 minutes is called Number Corner. In fact, on Friday of this week, Superintendent Drake will be joining me at Adams School. We're going to be going into a classroom to observe Number Corner. I've been into 4 classrooms already to observe Number Corner as I'm learning along with the classroom teachers. I have a goal to observe all McKinley and Adams teachers teach Number Corner by the end of October. We'll see how that goes, since every teacher teaches Number Corner at about the same time every day. That might be tricky to have that goal accomplished by the end of October. Hard to believe that parent-teacher conferences are already coming up in the middle of October. So on Friday of last week, letters went home explaining to parents how they can get online and register for their child's conference. So we'll be a month and a half into the school year, and then hopefully we'll be having individual conversations between our teachers and parents. Last Monday evening, I attended our first PTO meeting of the school year. We have a fabulous parent-teacher organization. We had a good turnout. We had 5 teachers at that meeting, and we had some new parents there. And as I was looking at the parents, 4 of the moms on our PTO are employed by the school district. 1 of them is a noon hour supervisor at McKinley, and the other 3 are substitute teachers. So I recognized them for that, and we appreciate them very much. In our classrooms at McKinley and Adams, we have brand new Promethean boards, and wow, are those nice, and the teachers are learning about how to best use those, and they seem pretty comfortable to me when I'm in the classrooms watching that. These boards are very interactive. Kids are up touching the screens. Just give you one quick example of how Promethean board might be used in the kindergarten classroom. Each day when these kids walk into this particular classroom, they go up to the interactive whiteboard. It's not a whiteboard. They go up to the interactive Promethean board. They have to identify their name. They have to find their name, and they have to circle it. And this teacher had shared with me that about 3 of her kids could not find their name, but now are able to start recognizing their name. So it's just part of the morning routine for that particular classroom, that when the kids come into the room. 2 more things. Guest artist Sarah Ronovic, who taught some art lessons in our elementary classrooms last year. She is scheduled to start here next week in October, and she will make the rounds and hit all 7 second grade classrooms. She'll get into 4 of them on Tuesday, October 4th, and the other 3 on Friday, October 7th. And once she hits the 2nd grade, then we'll make a decision if she wants to jump to cover the 3rd grade or the 1st grade, and we'll eventually get through all of them K through 4. And our goal this year is to see if we can't get Sarah Ronovic into all classrooms K through 4 quarterly, at least the first 3 quarters of school, and we think that would be great. She was a hit last year with our students, our staff, and our parents. We received really good feedback on that. And then lastly, just wanted to share, this is really encouraging. This is good for our district. It's good for our support staff. But we have a half a day of school coming up on, I think it's Thursday, October
13.
13th. And in the afternoon, it's not a full day with kids, so it's an early release. Our kids are gonna go home at 3 hours early. But it's a full day of work for our support staff. And we have 2 people in our district who aren't new to the district, but they're in new positions. And they're gonna be offering some training for our support staff. One of them is Nancy Reard. So she's one of our part-time administrators now. She's gonna be offering some training for our special ed paras. And then the other person is Jessica Molstry. She is our new Title I lead teacher. And she's going to be offering training for our paraeducators who are interventionists during the day and who work with small groups of kids. So just really good steps in the right direction in how our districts can best utilize and train our support staff. So that's my report. I can entertain any questions.
Does anyone have any?
Great start.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll hear from Principal Tindy Run, elementary principal at Cleveland. Hello.
Good evening. Mr. Colbeck and I oftentimes think alike because when he's giving his report, I'm starting to check a couple things off of my list, but they're important things and I'll just highlight a couple. Just starting with fall conferences, it's always a good time to conference with parents and share information on how their students are progressing and growing, and also have those opportunities to share with them ideas of what they can do at home to also support their child's learning. But we really are pleased at the elementary level that parents come out and we have that designated time set aside to share valuable information in conference. So again, we encourage parents to go online and establish a conference time with their child's parent or child's teacher here coming up in October. So that is already in the works. And in Cleveland, these first 15 days have gone very quickly. We've had a great start. Lots of activity happens in September, and I thought I'll just highlight a couple of things for each grade level. 3rd grade students have that great fortune of having monthly field trips out to Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. They had their first visit out there last week and enjoyed beautiful weather. We're grateful that those can be happening in person. We also are very thankful to the Friends of the Prairie who fully fund the transportation for these monthly visits. That's just an added expense that they cover to make sure, ensure that this opportunity continues to. So a big thank you to the Friends of the Prairie for that. And then also just the board acknowledged their donation of a new walkie-talkie system at the last board meeting. I had the opportunity to use one of those walkie-talkies as we did some safety drills at Prairie last week. And they are just the right size, clear as a bell communication. When you talk into one, all classrooms can hear the information instantaneously. And I was really impressed. So we're gonna look at, we have a walkie-talkie system at Cleveland, but we're gonna look at the possibility of getting that system in place at Cleveland too for some of those same forms of communication that really help out, especially during the noon hour at Cleveland. And in 4th grade, 4th graders during their music class last week were introduced to the different instruments that are in the orchestra, which segued right into today's orchestra roundup. Cleveland is a bustling building right now, as parents and their students are coming in to get signed up and equipped for orchestra. Their first rehearsal will be this coming Thursday, and thereafter they'll have 10 rehearsals, large group rehearsals with small group lessons speckled in there, leading up to their first concert in December, and I think it's December 16th or 15th, but that last week before our holiday break. So it's always exciting. They've been talking and visiting about this in the hallways and in the lunch line, so they're really excited for this new opportunity that happens in 4th grade. And then September is all about safety. We talk a lot about safety in September. Last week our FIED teachers had all of the classes watch a bus safety video during one of the FIED classes. And then we've been conducting safety drills each week. As Mr. Colbeck mentioned, this weather has been wonderful, so it hasn't hindered any of our plans. We've been able to conduct fire drills, so students know where to go to, whether they're in their homeroom class or whether they're in a Fayette or music class, a different area of the building. Students are familiar with our safety drills, both at Cleveland as well as Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. And then last week, the firemen dropped off the fire safety poster contest information, and this year's theme is Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape. So students will have the opportunity to design a poster that features that theme, and then the firemen select posters that are well representing that theme, and then those students have the opportunity to advance to the next level of competition to have their posters featured in this year's contest. So lots of safety talks in September. And then I also wanted to share with you, we're always looking to create fun and activities for students during our recess time so that there's some structured play and promoting positive social interactions. And I just wanted to shout out to Eric Strom. He came over and spray painted a mini football field on a portion of the playground, so the kids who really enjoy playing football have this designated area with some lines for down lines on it. And then in another grassy area, he was able to spray paint a small soccer field, and it's small. Next time we spray paint that, we're gonna make it a little longer, and then we have hopes of finding just the right size goals that we can add to the ends of the soccer field to just really designate those areas. The kids find those areas are on their own, but just having some boundaries help those who are playing soccer and those who are not playing those activities either. So a big thank you to Eric Strom, and he's not done yet. He's working on some different, the right kind of paint that's going to adhere to the surface where we have our 4 square area, and so we'll add a little color and life for that those 4 square space too. But it takes a group effort to get some of those things done, and he got it done last week, and the kids were pretty thrilled. So great thank you to Eric Strom too. And with that, I'll conclude my report for this evening.
Any questions for Principal Ron?
Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan Hurst, middle school principal.
I'd just like to say that we've had a really positive start to our school year as well. And I highlight that because at in-service we spent some more time talking about the values that are important to us at the middle school level. And Mr. Steinbrenner dreamed up the idea of having people separate on their groups based on their hire date. And then that will give us some depth perception about the changes that have occurred over the last handful of years. I thought that was very clever. So I want to give him some credit for that. But what we heard was we want an enjoyable learning environment. They might have used the word fun, but I won't confirm or deny that totally. And they want an enjoyable learning and working environment, and I think that's part of what middle school is. So we're gonna work on that a little bit as we finalize that, our core values. The faculty submitted a list of their values, so now we have all these words on a spreadsheet, and we're paring that down to the buckets, the words that are most important to us. And when we get together at our next meeting, we'll hopefully solidify that. Might finish, may not, because it just takes some time to make sure we're all on the same page. So that meeting was particularly enjoyable, and I think provided a lot of wind in all the sails of our staff and our administrators as well. In our staff meetings, we've also we've used some of the SEL 3 signature practices, which include a warm welcome, engaging strategies, and optimistic closure. And that's been getting more interaction, which I desire, even in this meeting and in this presentation, more interaction between the faculty and the administration presenting. So this is how we can engage with each other and make that a valuable meeting rather than sit and get. That's not that fun. So those things have been really well. I've had a number of staff come to me, and Mr. Steinbrenner has also commented the same, that about the positive start in the atmosphere. They went out of their way to let us know that. So we know those things are being appreciated and we're gonna continue that. So, I just wanna thank Mr. Steinbrenner and then all the counselors that we work with, to get the school year off to a good start with schedule changes and adjustments and typos. So they've been super helpful to make all those things come together, and I think the school year has really felt good. Our PLCs have left from the district office to the principals this year. I've been working closely with Tindy and Scott on that plan, and we think we have a good plan in place. Mark is also doing that similar work, but I just want to let you know that the work that we're doing in our PLCs this year are guaranteed in supporting benchmarks, developing essential learning outcomes, and writing common assessments. This will give us all a common language, not only across our district, but in our grade levels. And when we decide what's most important to us, the guaranteed benchmarks, then how I think about it in layman's terms, we have a new teacher, here's what's important to us. You don't have to figure it out on your own. That's really valuable for us to work in that fashion so that we know why we're teaching what we're teaching. And if our scores aren't coming back in a fashion that represents that's the right stuff to be teaching, then we can make adjustments. So, and that work was very well received by staff. Amelia Lamar presented at grade level meetings last week, and a lot of head nodding, which is usually a good indicator that this is the right work. So we feel really good about that plan. Renee Erickson last week, over the summer, Renee Erickson had secured a speaker to speak on the dangers of vaping. That's the new smoking, right? And so we had about a 40-minute presentations to students in grades 6 through 8. And a good amount of time, not too long, maybe I'm here too long, about 40 minutes, so that tells you. But good history on vaping, and then why you shouldn't do it, and those kinds of things, which are kind of academic for us, but still those kids need to hear that. This is the first time they've heard that. So we need kids to make good decisions about what they're putting into their body. As you know, Otter Advisory has started. That's twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays in grades 7 and 8. And then we're delivering our lessons in grades 5 through 8 as a trial. We're trialing a few different SEL curriculums. Right now we're in 7 mindsets. And the first 2 lessons are dream big and embrace creativity. Sounds good. I like it. Tomorrow's is think positive. So good stuff, and I'm really pleased. We're still feeling that out from a delivery because some people don't mind talking about their feelings or how to engage kids in this loosely structured conversation that can be a little risky, and some people get a little nervous about that, whereas other staff really thrive in that environment and kind of take a start and just see where it goes. So we've been, everyone's been learning more about themselves as far as students, but also as our teachers. And then we've also hit on parent-teacher conferences, so I won't go into that, but we're signing up digitally and online, and we're encouraging face-to-face conferences, but we'll happily take any conference. That's my report this evening.
Great. Any questions for Principal Hurst? Somebody better come up with something. So we're interactive.
I'll do
There you go, yeah.
Yes, we are. No, the advisory periods, does every teacher participate in that, or is it just volunteers, or?
So Otter Advisory is 7th and 8th grade,
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Fridays.
Yeah.
And we have nearly all of our middle school teachers that are doing that. There's a few that can't because they are shared between 7th and 8th.
Okay.
And when 7th is having their advisory, they're typically teaching 8th grade.
Oh,
So we
okay.
have 5 teachers in that. At 7th grade, we have 14 teachers that are delivering in small groups, so we have about 15, 16 kids per group. And then at 8th grade, we have 12 teachers that are instructing, and they have about 17 or 18 per group.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just started this week, you said?
We didn't do it the first Tuesday, the first day of school.
Sure, yeah.
But this is our 3rd week.
Okay, how are they liking it? I mean, overall, is it?
Well, kids they want to talk about what they want to talk about. So, and like I mentioned, some of the teachers are super comfortable with these
Right.
conversations and some aren't. So I think there's a learning curve for everybody. But the titles of the topics that I presented, I they're the right things to teach.
Yeah.
So I feel really good about it, yeah. I have a note right here, a reminder, I should read that. We will be surveying the staff at the end of each of our curriculum trials. How did that work? How did the students respond? And then I think we have some real data. Could we survey kids too? Yeah, we could.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we survey the student council, or, I don't know, we'll think about that a little more. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Principal.
Very good.
Principal Mark Anderson, high school. Hello?
Good evening. Well, at the high school, we had the vaping presentations 9th through 12th. It did not go as well as the middle school. It was very dry, and the kids sat for a long time and didn't get to ask questions. So I'm not sure the message that we wanted to get through actually was sent to students. Renee knows, we've been talking about that, is what can we do moving forward to maybe do something that's a little more engaging with our high school kids. Our PLCs will be meeting this week. They'll be doing the equity magnifier. They'll be talking about the barriers that our students have in our classrooms. Do we have rules, policies? Do we have additional things within an individual classroom that is above and beyond what a policy of the district is? And is that a barrier for a student in the classroom? Is an honors class a barrier for some students to get into? A foundations class that we offer? So anything that we have that doesn't allow a kid in a course, we want to put it on our magnifier that each PLC has and actually ask the question, is this something that needs to stay, or can it go, or can we modify it to allow more kids access to our content in each department in our PLC work? Over conference time, we'll be doing some PLC standards alignment. The other principals talked about those things, so we'll be getting started on that piece. They'll also be doing some conference time with the parents that they need to. We struggle, obviously, getting parents coming in at the high school level, so we wanted to use that time purposefully for staff to sit down in their PLCs and begin that work in getting our common assessments and our curriculum aligned and moving that direction. We're keeping it very small, only standards alignment first, and then we'll talk about the other stuff after winter break and move into that piece. Homecoming is this week. It already started today, and it has been a crazy day. We saw stuff come through the hallways, sleds being pulled, kids pushing things, carrying tools in it that had their homework in it, their stuff. So it was an interesting day to see what was happening. So a lot of cool things happening this week. Coordination happens in about an hour and 15 minutes. So there'll be auditorium full of parents and kids watching that to see who's going to be crowned king and queen this week. And we have a ton of activities, with Friday being the big one, where we have our powder puff and our Ironman competitions with our juniors and seniors. And then we do our parade, and then we get the football game, and then get into the gym for the dance on Friday night to end our homecoming week. So we're excited about that. Mr. Tilke, I don't know if he slept for the last 2 weeks. He's requested never to have homecoming this early again. It doesn't seem like a bad deal, but when you have to get your 9th, 10th, and 11th graders all signed up for student council, add those additional pieces, it's hard to get them all organized and put together. So he did an awesome job doing that, so we're looking forward to the activities this week. Our school activities in sports and drama have started. We have play practice going right now for the fall musical. We have a lot of activities right now. We're getting to the end of their season. October brings section time for many of our activities, which will hopefully not end early, but will last into maybe end of October, November, which is always fun for our kids. And our drama will have their play in November. So we're looking forward to that opportunity to go and watch that and support them in their musical opportunities this week. I've done a lot of class visits this week, and not this week, but last week and the prior weeks. Didn't do it the first week, stayed away, let the kids and staff develop their relationships, get to know each other. Seeing some really good things going on in the classrooms. Kids are talking, they're engaged. Some of the things that I believe we changed with the expectations of the cell phones and having them put away has not hurt us at all. It has actually helped us. We're seeing more kids speaking in class, engaged in conversations. We also put the policy in place that if you're late to class, you have to drop your phone in the box if you're tardy. We're not getting very many tardies. And we're eliminating a lot of the food and coffee that we had after first hour moving forward. And the kids don't seem to be too disappointed about it. And it's interesting, down in the cafeteria, not always on their phone. They're actually talking to each other down there. So it's interesting. They've come to find out that the phone might not be as important as they thought it had to be. So that's working well for us. I got to speak to Catherine Anderson's work-based learning group in here. She has 32 kids for a semester. It's the most she's ever had at one time. It was interesting. She brings me in. Last year I stood at the door with my mask on and shook their hands, and they walked by and I had to pull them back, like shake my hand. This time I walked around the table and shook their hand. I think they knew this was coming. Apparently the kids from last year talked to them, and I introduced myself, and we talked about how that's that social emotional piece when you're at work. When you grab someone's hand and shake it and look at their eyes, what you're saying is, I'm present. I'm here to hear you. I'm here to know who you are. And so we talked about that and what that meant. So I'll be excited to see at the end of the semester what they've learned. If they still have a passion for what they did their work-based learning in, or if that is an absolute not doing that the rest of my life, which is absolutely okay. So that's an interesting piece coming up. And our Career Expo is October 13th from 8:20 to 11:55 here. Not only will we have all of our 9th through 12th graders doing it, at about 11:45, about 250 to 300 kids from around the area are coming into the Gold Gym for the businesses, colleges, and military. And then they'll also do the auditorium guest speakers that we have for them. So it's an opportunity to show off our school, and maybe some kids will like it enough they'll want to transfer to us. The ALC, it's been quiet down there in a really, really good way. Kristen and the staff started with the year with their navigator, training their mentors, and that has made a huge difference down there. The atmosphere down there and the culture is probably the best it's ever been. They have 6 or 7 young men and women who hold people accountable for the things they do during the day, which helps the adults. And there have been really positive conversations with kids about what the expectations are and having leaders lead, and that's been really good. The 2 teachers we have are Mrs. Salakar, our science teacher, and Pablo Rodriguez, our math teacher, are absolutely amazing. The kids love being in their classrooms, and they've really stepped up things in a positive way in those classrooms for us. The new transitions that the kids did, we had our new 9th graders come in, and anybody new to the LC this year came into a 2-day transition with Kristen and the staff, and that helped support the kids that came in that had never been down there before, and made that transition even better. And obviously their mentors were there with them, so that helped support that piece. The IQ Academy, the staff is working on making their first quarter calls. Ryan expects them to have all their calls into parents and families that they have not been able to connect with by the end of September, which is this week. They always want to reach out to make sure that the parent and student have been online with this teacher, making sure they're present and getting to know them. He lets the staff know that he's going through the evaluation process, so he's already set up a couple of evaluations down there. He and I will be tag teaming on a few people. They will begin their work on the PLC curriculum alignment of standards also. And he and I were also in a meeting last week with MDE. We're in our 3-year cycle for online education. So there's a process we're going through. What are our goals and expectations we have as we go through? Apparently we're the guinea pigs that we found out about with about 6 other online schools. It's going to be a cohort. This is going to be a yearly thing where we come in with our goals and start looking at, are the goals we chose last year really working, or do we need to adapt them to the kids we have currently and update them and move forward? So it's not a 3-year, you got to live by this, but an opportunity to move along and make it the expectations, what we need for our kids and our families to meet their needs academically. So we'll be working through that process. Ryan wants to make sure that we have Mrs. Borman and Mrs. Cummings, our counselors. They've been helping in the media center here, getting all our high school kids are in IQ for a class or multiple classes set up, making sure they know how to get in, take assessments, all those type of things, making sure they get off to a good start so they don't get behind. He also wants to thank Angie and Teresa. They've taken on a bunch of different roles because they have one of their people out right now for till October, end of October or so. So they stepped up and really have put on an extra time to help out with getting kids onboarded and getting schedules set up and ready for students moving into IQ for us. And that's all I have.
All right.
Any questions?
What was the date on that, when you have the employers come in?
It's October 13th.
15th, okay. And time?
It'll be 8:20 to 11:55.
Thank you.
And it'll go about till 12 o'clock in there because the students from off campus, other schools will be there after us.
Thank you.
Yep.
I had a question.
Yep.
You mentioned the honors
Yep.
classes, and with the equity, I thought that was kind of interesting. Is it looking at whether or not the kid, what do they need to do to qualify to be in honors, or are you finding that maybe the instruction's more differentiated, or honors isn't necessary anymore?
What does it mean to be in honors class?
Yeah.
And the next question we have, and we'll talk about, is if you don't take honors and you take college, don't we want our kids in English honors also who are taking the college course? Wouldn't that be the best progression for them?
Mhm.
That type of thing. So making sure we're not leaving kids out just because they maybe had a bumpy year in 7th
Sure.
or 8th grade.
Okay.
But what does the big picture of a student look like instead of just a one-year picture?
So what's the criteria for qualifying?
It's MCA scores and academic grades at the middle school level for our
Yeah.
9th grade, and that moves on. So the question we have is that what we want to keep doing? Are we leaving people out that, when they get to high school, have a total different motivation and want different things and want opportunities that they maybe didn't have before they got to us?
Yeah, very cool. Thanks.
All right, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The report then from Superintendent Drake.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Again, very pleased to report a positive start to the school year, and my appreciation to everyone for all the hard work that has gone into making that possible. Special thanks for everyone involved with homecoming week, especially Mr. Tilke and the high school office staff, Principal Anderson. A lot of work goes into that. I don't know how the administration feels here. It was a week that I would look forward to, but also was quite happy when it was over, especially supervising the dance at the end of the week. But it's certainly something that the kids get into. It's a traditions that are part of the life of the school. And certainly the parade at the end of it is something that the whole community looks forward to. And then this year, as part of the football game, we will have a halftime show again with the marching band. So we're very much looking forward to the return of that tradition. Also want to thank the McKinley crew for putting on the Scholastic Book Fair this evening. It's a wonderful thing to extend that love of learning to our youngest children. So appreciate the extra effort that went into that. This big weekend continues on to Saturday, where we have the Hall of Fame induction by the 544. So looking forward to that event, and that is open to the public in our auditorium. So hope that many people can come and honor some of our alumni as part of this wonderful, distinguished event. We have the first DACRAC meeting coming up on October 17th, and we are proposing a few changes, tweaks I'll call them, to DACRAC. We'll start our first meeting of the year, just a review of the district's vision and goals and our mission. And then we will move into a discussion in November about new courses that might be coming up at the high school level, and then folding in some of the department presentations that have been customary over the years, as well as setting the stage for ongoing work towards the World's Best Workforce Report and how our plans will align with the goals that we've set. Next board meeting, I will share the MCA scores, both state and area comps. We're having some technical difficulties, and this is much better shown on screen than just with an oral report. And then a couple updates on facilities. Talk about facilities a lot. We have started tiling in the ALC bathrooms, and so fingers crossed that October 5th completion deadline will be adhered to. I do again want to thank the City of Fergus Falls for graciously allowing us to use the city facilities while this project gets completed. And then last Friday afternoon around 3:30 or 4, we became officially disconnected with the anhydrous ammonia chiller. I believe they were draining glycol out of that system all weekend long, and there may be a little bit of that still remaining. There are hundreds of gallons of glycol there. And then that is now officially the ownership of the City of Fergus Falls. And then we will have ongoing discussions on Lincoln Phase 2 as we adjust to some curveball or two thrown to us from the Minnesota Department of Education on the financing side. So those will be some ongoing discussions. And with that, I will turn it over for any questions.
Does the board have any questions? All right, thank you. Board
Thank you.
Administrator. Moving on to the general consent items, we have several things for consideration of approval. The minutes from our September 12th regular board meeting and some personnel. So I'll turn to you, Elaine Jenke.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few items here. Under support staff resignations, Kathy Nelson, special education paraprofessional. She's resigning and taking on a different role as a paraeducator at McKinley. Susan Risbrut, CNA instructor. Under support staff hires, Natasha Wick, special education paraprofessional here at Kennedy. As I stated before, Kathy Nelson, paraeducator at McKinley, and Pamela Graff, part-time custodian at KSS, and then Brenda Stowen, student support aide at Cleveland. So I'd recommend these for board approval.
All right, is there a motion to approve the general?
So moved.
All right, and a second?
I'll second them.
All right, any discussions on general consent items? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved, and we'll move down to new business where we have a public informational meeting regarding proposed property taxes and budgets and proposed and final property tax levy scheduled at 6 p.m. on Monday, December 12th in the Otter Community Room here at Kennedy Secondary School. So I would entertain a motion to set that meeting.
I'll move.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, we have received in our packet the 2022-2023 school year fundraiser requests. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second them.
All right, any discussion on the fundraiser requests? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We have a motion to revise the school calendar for the Fergus Falls School District and the IQ Academy, changing December 21st as a student instructional and staff workday, and then taking off January 2nd from the calendar as a closed school day to observe the New Year's holiday. So that's a federal regulation. We need to modify, and wondering if someone would make that motion.
So moved.
All right,
I'll
Stephen?
second it.
Very good. And any discussion on that?
So we're basically just saying, instead of having class in school on the 2nd, we're gonna be closed that day, and we were gonna be closed on the 21st, so we're saying we're gonna be open that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we had some discussions with the MSBA and also with Minnesota Education. And I think there's also issues with overtime pay and things like that on a federal holiday, so.
Yeah.
So it's, I think we came to the conclusion it's probably a good thing to do.
Yeah, seems like a good idea for
Okay.
stepping on toes. All right, any other discussion? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, and we need to set up our Iowa, which is identified official with authority for education. Oh, it's the IOE. Looking for a resolution to be offered for the designation of an identified official with authority. And so I will read the resolution. Minnesota Department of Education, Professional Educator Licensing Standards Board, and the Office of Higher Education require an annual designation of an identified official with authority for each local educational agency that uses the Educational Identity and Access Management System. The Iowa is responsible for authorizing, reviewing, and recertifying user access for their local educational agency in accordance with the State of Minnesota Enterprise Identity and Access Management Standard, which states that all users' access rights to Minnesota state systems must be reviewed and recertified at least annually. The Iowa will authorize user access to the state of Minnesota secure systems in accordance with the user's assigned job duties and will revoke that user's access when it is no longer needed to perform their job duties. The Fergus Falls School Board designates Jeffrey Drake as a Iowa to authorize user access to the state of Minnesota education secure websites for the Fergus Falls Public School District 544. Will someone offer that resolution?
I'll run for that resolution, move for its adoption.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any questions at all regarding the resolution? Clerk, will you please take roll?
Sure. Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes?
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Matthew Lemke, yes. The resolution passes.
Great. I am looking for a sponsor to a motion for a wage increase for support staff substitutes and non-affiliated support staff to $17 an hour, effective on October 1st. Would someone make that motion?
So move.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Just trying to keep up with the times. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That's approved, and we'll move to item number 6. They're looking for a motion regarding the Fergus Falls Community Arena user agreement fees, which was Exhibit A for the season, January 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2023, and October 1st, 2023 to December 2023. So, is there a motion in regard to that?
I'd like to make a motion to table this.
All right. All right, there's a motion to table this discussion and action on the user agreement fees. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I'll take Kirby. All in favor of tabling this topic to the next board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is tabled. That concludes the agenda for this evening. We'll meet again Thursday, October 6th at 7:30 a.m. for a special school board meeting. This is about the proposed levy and taxes payable, so note that will be a short meeting for that single topic. Then our regular school board meeting will be the following Monday, October 10th. Is there a motion to adjourn this evening?
So move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.